Alright, welcome back. I figured I might just do a follow-up of the demonstration video, just to sort of show you how we go about marking this sort of thing. So, I have made a few mistakes along the way, and that's, I'll be going through that. So, what your marks will do is I'll copy that in, they'll paste it into the editor. This should be exactly the same code, so I'm not going to paste it in. And then we'll go through and sort of have a look at what you've done and just sort of see what could be done better, and yeah, mark you based on that. So one of the things that I did is I copied this function, and this function's unused. You probably won't lose any marks for unused functions, but it's best for keeping your code clean to sort of remove things like that. What I should have done is I should have turned, well, here where I used the for loop, I should have put that all in there, but I didn't, and that's okay. And I'd sort of go through and have a look at the comments that are in here. So I haven't really described well what I've done, so I'd probably want to fill this in with stuff. So if I was taking or fixing up my answer, which is probably something you should do before you submit, so I'm going to say like fill array with my color palette. Yep, and then here, move the origin point to the center of the canvas. Now here I'll space this out, draw my concentric arcs from smallest to largest. Pick a random color from the palette. Down here, regenerate the image. I feel like arc styling is all encompassing there. But I will specify that base the stroke width on size. Down here I'm going to say I'm going to use the stroke width to offset perfectly. Here I'm going to say that this block is generating colors of strokes. Now if you were going through and doing this, if you use pseudocode, you wouldn't have to add these in after, because they'd already be there. So I'd recommend using pseudocode. That was a mistake that I made when taking the quiz. Now, while I'm saying this, I'm adding comments as if I was taking the quiz, but this is the kind of thing that we would be looking for, and so these are the things that I'm adding that would get you a higher mark, which is more comments. Are my variable names good enough? Maybe. They could be potentially more better described, so I'm just going to put these up here and just say saturation, just so it's absolutely clear to the marker what these are. Darker, bright, darker, normal, lighter, those work quite well. Yep, set the stroke. That's pretty self-explanatory. But if you had, use up all the time that you've got. So if you really want to add, set the color of the stroke, it can't hurt to explain everything. So what's this one? This one is setting the offset for each arc part. Not the greatest comment. Don't really know what an arc part is, but anyway. And then draw the arc. Yep, I feel like that's... Maybe dims is not quite... Arc dimension... Maybe arc properties is a better description there. It's more descriptive comment, which is part of the first criteria. Some arc end on a 360-degree circle. Could probably reuse that comment there and accept some arc start. Cool. Draw all the arcs for this size. Or draw all 3 arcs for this size. And that's probably a much better comment. Make the end caps look nicer. Yep, I feel like that comment describes that line. So now every line is... Whoops. Only loop once. Oops, once. So now I feel like this is a much better commented piece of code. Could also fill this in with what colors are which, like dark green, and so on. Grey, orange, sky blue. But those are also... Whoops. Yeah, those colors are all written above, so maybe that's enough commenting. Prepare the color array. Now I feel like this is a fairly well commented piece of code. Now I'd be also as a marker looking for things that could be improved. Is this the best solution? Well, we will take into account how much time that you've had to do this. So some easy fixes, for example here, it could be good to draw the center line last. So if we maybe moved this to the last one that we draw, so instead if I move lighter, sorry, normal here, lighter here. Yep. I also could have used the original colors. Currently I've set them all to saturation. Well, that actually won't change the order that they're drawn. So X offset is used here. I could use an if statement to improve this code. If I equals 1, no 2, that's the last one. So the X offset is now not between 0 and 1. I just want 0 and 1 to be the inside and outside, so that'll do. But if it's 2, then we can get rid of that. Hang on, move that above. Oh, need to move that down. Let X offset, and now I will make an else statement. So the center line is the one that we want to draw last, so that's why we're putting it at 2, and we're just going to say X offset equals 0, because that's the middle line. Otherwise, we're going to be doing it like this. So that's an improvement. We'll be looking for sort of quick fixes that you definitely could have made. So let's have a run of that. Now the dominant line, which is the middle line, is also always drawn on the outside, oh sorry, last. So it sort of makes it a bit more obvious which the main line is. I've also set this. It could be a quick fix. The saturation and brightness of 100 isn't quite right. This doesn't actually reflect the original color. I could have used brightness and saturation to get those original values. So if you remember, we've grabbed those from MyHue or from color. Color's still available to us. So I could go color dot brightness. Oh, that's not how that works, is it? I keep forgetting how this works. Anyway, that would work. And then if I did... Oh, I've got it in the wrong one. Silly me. Saturation. So then I'd be looking at colors that better reflect the original palette. That could be a good solution. And then also, you know, for absolute top marks, you know, you want to make all of the perfect changes that you can. Now these grey colors are coming out and they're changing to red, and that's not quite right, and that's because the saturation and brightness for the darker and lighter colors aren't actually true to grey, because the saturation and brightness are being turned up. So what we could have done is copied that and used those to set the values. So we had 70 and 100, so we want the saturation to go down and the brightness to stay the same. So saturation, and we could times it by some value, so 0.25 to get us a quarter. Oh no, we had it at 70%, so we'll go 0.7. And then we do something similar for the other one. Oh, so I'm also, another tip, using Alt and using this to select multiple lines, and then I can actually copy in and replace multiple lines. So then I want to move that down to there and have a look at that. That's looking even better. The lighter colors aren't necessarily working with the green. So let's turn the saturation even further down to like 0.5. Yeah, half. That's working a little bit better. They're a bit washed out, but that's okay. Maybe we'll brighten this up. So we'll go times 1.2. See what we get. Yeah, that's working a lot better. Are the greens still working? Yeah. So already I've noticed as a marker that there are a few ways that this could be done better. Anything else that could be done better? I'd say within the time span, you probably, like, based on this approach, there's a better approach. So maybe instead of drawing these as arcs, you did want to use the coordinates of a circle to draw lines and have them so that these edges aren't quite lining up. But that would be like 100% perfect answer if you did implement that. And you don't necessarily have that much time, so work out what you can achieve within the time that you have, and go for the solution that sort of is more familiar to you, so that you can work towards your strengths. But yeah, that's sort of how we would go about marking that. We'd also have a read of this, see what you tried to do, see how well you did it. Yeah, things like that. Right, and that's me marking myself.